Customer encounter. When I worked at the adult bookstore, I expected all sorts of crazies, but I never got a creeper until the end of my time there. It was late night. The store was open 7 days a week. We weren't always 24 hours though. Monday to Wednesday, we closed at 2 a.m., and from Thursday to Sunday, it was a 24-hour store. This was a Thursday night. Now, my coworker was my best friend. I got him the job. He took the overnight shifts on weekends, while I took the second shifts during the week, and the first shift on weekends. He'd come in at midnight to relieve me, and I'd do his magazine counts for him. I'm walking around the store, straightening out the magazines and counting them, when this guy creeps up next to me. I greet him as I greet any customer, with a smile and a hello. How are you today? He smiled at me, said he was fine, and continued looking at the magazine rack I just straightened up. I continued walking around the store, straightening shelves, when my phone vibrated in my pocket. My friend had texted me that the guy was intentionally following me around the store in a creepily obvious way. I quickly went to the back and brought up the footage on the camera, and it was creepy, and it was obvious. I had been so intent on straightening the shelves that I hadn't noticed. He wasn't super close to me. He would stand in the adjacent aisles behind me, or way down the aisle away from me. I just thought he was working his way around the store, but as I watched the camera, I could notice him staring at me. I turned to the live feed, and he was talking to my friend. He got some change and went into the booth. My friend texted me again, saying he had asked where I had gone, and that I needed to get out of the store and fast. He had only gotten $1 for some quarters, which meant I had 4 minutes before he came out. The other problem was, he had his booth door cracked, and he had the one nearest to the main door. He was literally watching the door as he watched his porn sample. We thought fast. One of my regulars came in, a polite gay man, and my friend quickly and quietly filled him in on what was going on. My friend couldn't leave the register. The regular came to the bathroom and slept out with me. We walked the full length around the store, through the door that wasn't open to the public. We could open it from the inside, but it had no handles on the outside. It meant we had to walk around the unlit part of the store's lot, around the back, and get to my car. The guy, I guess sensing something was wrong, didn't use his full 4 minutes. He came out to have a cigarette in the front of the store. Now, there was a privacy divider, which divided the front parking lot and the back parking lot. I usually parked in the front. The store had been full that night, so I parked in the back. My regular and I were able to sneak me into my car. When we were done, I waved at him and sped off. Not 2 minutes later, I received a text from my friend. "He's following you." He threw down his cigarettes, got in his car, and followed. Sure enough, behind me is a car following me. I took a few back roads, speeding heavily just to check. Yep, I'm being followed. So I drove until I got to the police station, where I parked and sprinted from my car into the station. I worked at a convenience store that gave them free coffee as my then second job. And the sergeant that would come get coffee from me was there. He escorted me home, driving behind me in his cruiser. He got out, walked me up the stairs, took my phone number, and made sure that I was locked safely in my apartment. He sat in my darkened parking lot with his lights off for a good hour. He called and said he hadn't seen a single car pass, and that I should be safe. If I heard anything suspicious, I was to call 911. Thankfully, I never saw the guy again. Creepy Midnight Murder Man. I was out biking with my boyfriend at night. We're both 23 years old, and we were really just biking out around my neighborhood. We didn't want to go too far, and some streetlights were out, so it was pretty dark and we didn't want any trouble. Now, I live in Mexico, in a very calm part of a very calm city. We get murders and the like, but nothing like up north. Anyways, I started racing my boyfriend, and as I was turning to my street, I went past my house, leaving him behind around the corner, and 2 houses down there is a house that's always empty, except for a car that you'd swear is never driven. And as I stopped right in front of it to let him catch up, I noticed the front door open. This is new, since I've never seen the people that live there, having lived right next to them for 23 years. Out comes a man around 60 years old, dragging a bunch of bed sheets. It looks insane. He was dragging out on his front porch what looked like a huge bedsheet taco that probably consisted of like 3 different kinds of sheets or comforters. But what seemed extremely off was that it looked heavy. I just noticed I didn't specify it was around midnight when this happened. If it was laundry, why on earth would he decide this was a good time to get it washed or move it about? I stared at him, and he opened his car door and stopped when he noticed me right across the street, staring at him. My boyfriend is still turning around the corner when the man notices me, and while looking at me, carries the huge bundle into his car and closes the door, walks around it and opens the driver's door. Still making full eye contact, my boyfriend is now next to me staring at him too, asking me what the deal was. I quickly tell him what I've been staring at, stating I've never seen any living humans in the house before. The sheets, the staring back, everything, and right then the car turns on and slowly backs out of his driveway. We move slightly but still stand our ground, staring at him. As he pulls out, he stops right in front of us, and I get a closer look at the man. He was so old and crooked. He looked deformed by wrinkles and very hunched over. He stared at us, expressionless, and didn't move for what seemed like minutes. It was probably a minute or 2 though. We just stared back, muttering to each other, what should we do? Should we head back? Should we leave? Let's just leave. So, we slowly start pedaling the opposite direction. After we're a couple feet away, we both look back and see the car in the same place, still staring at us with his blank expression. It terrified us. We were going to go back to my place, so he knew I was his neighbor. We started going around the corner when we noticed he started to move in reverse. He moved his car so he faced our direction and started driving towards us. He clearly changed his mind after staring at us and decided he was going to follow us, which he did, slowly, painfully slowly. We started going faster and lost him around the corner. We decided to go forward a couple more blocks before going around to my street again. We had lost him, and we were in front of the creeper's house again. We started to ask ourselves what was going on when right where we came from appears the old man's car. No headlights on or anything like that. It scared the shit out of us. Because he was going so slowly and no lights on, he basically creeped up on us with his car. He was very close to us too. I panicked and dialed 911, and my boyfriend had got his bike on the sidewalk and started to walk to the park in front of the man's house and told me to follow him. But it was too late for me. Old man was almost on my bike, so I decided to pedal for it slowly as well, and I tried to talk to the operator. I stated what I saw, the suspicious acting, and that the man was currently tailing me slowly with his car and the staring. My God, his staring is still engraved in my brain. He never blinked. They said the nearest police car had been reached and that they would arrive in 2 minutes. And that's when I felt a bump behind me. The car was literally bumping my bike. I panicked and told the lady that the man was slowly following me and that he was on me already. And the lady would try to calm me down and assured me that the police were on their way. After I hung up, I started to pedal faster and jumped off and got my bike into the park next to my boyfriend, who was panicking and yelling alongside me the whole time. The car stopped, he stared at us some more, got really up close to his window, and out of the blue, he sped off. The police arrived almost a minute later. and we got them the license plate, the car model, color, everything, and we showed them where the guy lived. We waited alongside the police officers, and some of them left on their bikes to look for the car around the neighborhood. After what seemed like 40 minutes, police officers gave up and told us they needed to leave since there was no evidence of anything weird going on, and said if anything happened again to call them immediately. Right after they left, my boyfriend turned around and spotted the car parked a block away, lights still off and mad stare coming from it, and told me there he is. Right when he pointed at him, the car immediately sped off again. We waited around the park for a while, still freaking out. We didn't want him to catch us going home, but after a while we didn't see him anywhere, and we sneaked to my house and hid the bikes inside. After that, I have never seen anyone in or out of that house again. This was about a year ago. The car is gone too. I sometimes lose sleep thinking he's my neighbor and might creep around my house or my neighborhood. What if he did kill someone? I have no idea what that was about, and I'll never know. It freaked me out to write this down, but I felt you guys would enjoy it. First post, so be kind. I have lots more if you'd like me to post them. Midnight Run. This is not my story, but rather the story of an acquaintance of mine, Kat. Kat happened to be in the building at work the other day and asked me where the city police station was so she could go file a police report. I asked what was wrong, and she said she was having a stalker situation and proceeded to tell me what had been going on. A couple weeks ago, Kat started getting prank called on her cell phone. Several times a week, she would receive a call from a restricted number, but the caller would hang up about 2 seconds after she answered. Kat wasn't too worried about this and just found it more annoying than anything. She brushed it off and went about her week. But over the weekend, things started to escalate. Kat was hanging out with a friend when she got a call from the restricted number on her cell phone. Not paying attention to who was calling this time, Kat answered the phone and said, "Hello?" The male voice on the other end answered, "Hey, what are you doing?" "Who is this?" Kat said. "What are you doing right now?" the caller continued to ask. "I don't know who you are, I'm hanging up," Kat finally told him and hung up the phone. A few days went by without incident. The guy with the restricted number stopped calling Kat's phone. She was starting to forget about the whole thing, having dismissed it as a prank. Then, on Wednesday night, Kat decided to go on a late run with her roommate at around midnight. She had been stressed with work and needed to blow off some steam with a quick jog around the neighborhood. During the run, Kat was playing music out loud on her phone so that her roommate could also hear it. Suddenly her phone rang, and Kat answered it without thinking. It was the guy with the restricted number, and he said, "Why are you running so late at night?" At this point, Kat realized that her prank caller had been watching her for at least the past week. She had no idea who he was or how he got her cell phone number, but at this point, she was understandably freaked out. She kept asking the caller who he was, but he just kept saying things like, "You shouldn't be out running after dark. Why are you out so late? Shouldn't you be at home? Kat warned the guy not to call her again and threatened to go to the police if she heard ever from him again. When she said this, the caller became noticeably uncomfortable and said, "No, don't do that." But Kat had had enough. She hung up the phone, and she and her roommate turned around to head back to their house, since they no longer felt comfortable running out in the open, despite living in a safe small-town neighborhood. Now, since Kat now knew that this creepy caller knew where she lived, she and her roommate decided to check the perimeter of the house for anything suspicious before going in. Kat is a very tall, athletic young woman and isn't afraid of much. She has a patio near the back of the house with a small table and 2 chairs facing outwards towards the backyard. Except when Kat got back from her run, the two chairs were facing inward towards her bedroom window. The caller had apparently attempted to watch Kat undress, sleep, and do whatever else people normally do within the privacy of their bedrooms. Although this was definitely weird and creepy, Kat also kept her bedroom blinds closed and didn't think her stalker had been able to see anything. Although despite this, Kat was weirded out at this point and immediately contacted a friend with personal ties to a local police officer. The officer talked to Kat and her roommate, checked out the house to make sure it was safe, and urged Kat to go to the police station the next day to file a report. Although the police may never catch creepy caller guy with a restricted number, they will at least have something on file if he ever tries something like that again with Kat or with anyone else. Fortunately, there are laws in place these days to protect people from cell phone harassment. If you or someone you know is experiencing harassment via cell phone, please do not hesitate to file a police report and contact your cell phone carrier's customer service department to see if they can help you out. In doing so, you might also be helping someone else.